Joseph enters the house and slams the door. Moments later, Ian enters, carrying a big box.
I was right behind you.
I know. You mad?
I thought that was kind of rude since I had my hands full.
Oh, I'm sorry. I really mean it. Want to hug me?
No. You gave me the silent treatment all the way home.
Seriously? No love. Guess I should have seen that coming. Oh, wait.
I'm gonna go get out of this suit.
Is that why you wore it?
What do you mean?
The suit. You dressed up to take the stand?
No.
You wore the wrong suit. You should have had a clown suit on. Or maybe a slave costume with a sign that read, "Thank you, Massa," or "I'm Uncle Tom." That would have been better for the show you put on in that courtroom today.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay. Keep playing ignorant. I'm gone. Didn't plan on staying anyway.
You just got here.
And now I'm leaving. Gotta go see about things at my mama's house.
Your mama. She's my mama too.
Not from what I just saw. She ain't. And you ain't my brother. Don't come to her place today.
You can't tell me not to go there.
I can. Because you walked all over her heart today. And she wouldn't want you there.
Because I chose to forgive that girl?
Grown woman. And forgiving is one thing. What you did and said is another.
Everyone deserves forgiveness. Jesus said,
Man, forgive.
no, Joe.
Don't call me that. You want to be like Jesus? Go loving on everybody. See, don't you get crucified too.
You can't be mad at me for doing the Christian thing. I have a moral obligation to my faith.
You have an obligation to your family, to black folks. And your actions went way beyond your Christian obligations.
What will Mama say about that?
I think she would have plenty to say. And she would agree with me.
Really?
She wouldn't do what you did if it was the other way around.
When did you stop believing in God?
You think this is coming from a place of unbelief? Get off your horse. I haven't stopped believing. I've stopped using faith to excuse everything. I stopped living a lifestyle of faith-based passivity. There's a difference in not believing and not believing you have to keep your head down to please God. You sent the message to anyone looking today that we should forgive at all costs, no matter what the loss. I thought if something like this hit home, you would change your tune, not bow down further.
I don't bow. Holding on to your anger can't bring Mama back. It'll only grow like a cancer that'll rot your insides while the other person goes on about their lives.
Exactly. She moved on, left us motherless. And you think she needed comforting?
I wouldn't say she's moving on. She's serving 12 years in prison.
We're lucky if she serves 5 of those years. Meanwhile, we're serving a life sentence without a mother.
I don't know what you want me to say. I felt compelled to extend grace to her because
she got her grace on the white side of the law. Handed that sentence that wasn't even a quarter of what they said she could face. Why didn't you tell any of us you were going to go up there?
Because I knew you would have stopped me.
Damn right.
Because you wouldn't have understood. You like being the angry black man. I don't.
I'm not a trope, Ian. My anger is well-founded, nuanced, always justified.
Every day? All you post online is Black power, fight the power, and look what they did to us.
Maybe you should get angry too. Your peace talks don't do anybody any favors. And those aren't the only I post. But even if it was, why not? I hope it'll wake people up that seem unfazed by black people being murdered. I do share other things like dogs dancing sometimes when I need to lift my spirits, but when I know a punishment of that dog's death carries more weight than my own, I gotta say something more. You'd rather stay silent.
I just choose to focus on the positive, so I don't post a bunch of anti-white stuff that alienates friends based on a few person's actions. You fuel yourself on it.
First of all, pro-black. doesn't mean anti-white. Second, who would I alienate? All my followers know what's up, white included.
What about your real life white friends? It doesn't bother them?
I don't have many real life white friends. I have white associates. White friends, real allies, are ones I can count on to not be offended when I yell, "Stop killing us." My associates cut in defensively with things like, "I'm not part of what happened then or now." I have maybe one or two folks I can really put in the friends category. You probably don't have to vet your circles, huh? You probably edit the deep stuff out of all your conversations.
I don't censor myself. And my decision today wasn't based on my propinquity to whiteness. I do have real white friends, by the way, like Rory. She gets it. She was standing in solidarity with us the whole time, if you care to remember. She was proud of me and my statement today and for showing grace.
Of course she was. Rory can praise your grace because she's speaking as someone privileged to have never lived in a black body with our unique mental and daily duality. She dismisses decades of violence our people endured, after which they were still expected to smile, be respectful, and make nice with the white man who killed their families. Rory's first thought is grace, not anger, because she has separated herself so seamlessly from your pain. You can't see it. She's been ready for this trial to be over so you two can talk about something, anything other than your mother's unjust death.
That's not true. You're just so blinded by hate. You want to make everyone an enemy.
And what's blinding you? Tell me, what parts exactly is Rory proud of? The moment you said you love the murderer as a person? What exactly do you love about her?
Her name is Eileen.
Like I said, the murderer. Was she proud when you hugged that murderer with the same arms you wrapped around me and your baby sister? The arms you rocked little D with when she asked where her grandma was?
I don't apologize for my actions or words, no matter how conflicting they seem to you. I know where my heart was. I wasn't conflicted.
Not even when you said you wish she served no jail time? When you did that, you disrespected every black person who's ever been a victim of racially motivated violence by police and everyday citizens who believe they're above the law. Your actions said, "You can keep on killing us. We'll just excuse you later." You think Sandra Bland, Medgar Evers, or Michael Brown's family would have hugged their killers? Do you think Mamie Till, after telling the world, "Look at what they've done, don't turn away," would have said, "Now let's find these killers and forgive and hug them"? No. Our communities and families have been ravaged, torn apart by racial violence for decades. And today you absolved your black mother's white killer of her crime. Who are you?
I am my mother's son, a Christian who was raised to love my enemy, to love God, and to forgive. Ephesians 4:32 says, "Be kind and compassionate to one another. Forgive each other just as Christ forgave you." Everyone needs forgiveness.
Without true repentance? If she followed that first part about being kind, Mama would still be here.
I have no heaven or hell to put anyone in, Joseph.
But God does. And he will do the judging. Let him forgive her. I mean, to forgive her in private is one thing. You didn't need to announce it at the sentencing. Not when we were sitting there destroyed, ready to flip tables after hearing the system offer leniency yet again, coddling a white killer.
That was exactly the right time. I wanted to quell the anger rising with love.
You knowingly policed our behavior? Our emotions? We get policed every day, Ian. When do we get to show how we really feel without persecution? We deserve that much? You should have saved those words of comfort and hugs for Donna, your sister. Where was our hug in that courtroom?
Eileen was crying. She said she was truly sorry for her actions that cost our mother her life. I believed her.
Those weren't tears of remorse. They were crocodile tears for the for the time that she was about to spend in jail. Regretful tears of not being let off the hook. She didn't shed one tear for us.
That's not true. When we hugged, she apologized over and over for the pain she's caused.
You know, when Dee gets caught doing something she shouldn't and cries to get out of punishment, that's what that murderer was doing.
Her name is Eileen.
No, 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 no. She doesn't get to have her name in my mouth. She sure stuffed it down your throat, though. Is that all she's put in your mouth?
Excuse me? What are you saying?
I don't know. The way you were talking and acting doesn't match up with what we've been through this last year. Doesn't match up with the way you sobbed once, the way you were angry once.
I had my time to mourn, and now I have been given a peace that passes all understanding.
Don't speak holy to me. We were taught to be meek and mild, but that shouldn't mean we're weak and beguiled. I'm not letting someone spit in my face, tell me it's raining, and then apologize for not catching it with my hands.
You think I'm weak because I showed sympathy? I showed strength in a moment of my weakness. I showed strength, the strength of love, God's love. I was the bigger person and looked past the past and saw a broken human being in the present. I didn't see a monster. I saw another human being that needed compassion.
I don't believe you. You didn't look comfortable at all. Not in your skin, not in your suit. You were pulling at your collar the whole time like it was a noose tightening around your neck with every word. Did somebody make you go up there? Is this something you're not telling us?
Of course not. First, you accuse me of not loving my family because I forgave Eileen. Then you say you think we had something going on?
I didn't say that. I asked if there was something you weren't telling us. Did you have some kind of relationship with that woman? Is that why you're so remorseful for her?
This is ridiculous.
You're not denying it. Why aren't you denying it?
I am. I barely knew her outside of this trial. I just want her to find God and to know true forgiveness. She has to live 12 years in a confined space, knowing what her actions cost her. She's gonna need him just as much.
Keep saying 12 years like that's concrete. Like she'll even last that long in there.
You say that like you hope something happens to her in there.
The thought has crossed my mind, how she'd get her payback in there. But I'm not speaking that on her.
See, you understand. You, like me, are wishing no harm for her.
No, I'm not like you. I just know that thoughts like that come from a dark place. One like her mind's been incubated in. I'll make my peace with this in my own time. And if I choose to forgive her one day, trust me, it won't be public.
We're different. I had to forgive her so I could be okay. So I could be free from the heaviness that had taken root in my soul. I felt weighted down and I couldn't continue living like that.
You're right. We are different. Because what I feel isn't too heavy for me. I guess I just know how to carry it and be okay. When you looked in her face today, did you replay it in your mind what she did?
I didn't. I had let it go.
But you remember, don't you, how it went down?
I don't want to.
Why don't you tell it to me?
I have let it go. I don't want to welcome those thoughts into this space.
You welcome the forgiveness, the pardoning of that sin in this space. Acknowledge the sin.
I'm not doing that. It is forgiveness that
I'll do it then. It was summertime. The murderer walked up to Mama, who was minding her own business, and asked her what she was doing at her timeshare because the murderer hadn't seen her there before. My mother told her, though she didn't have to, that she was on vacation and opened the door to her residence with her key and went in. The woman followed her, waving some rinky-dink security badge and demanded to know how she had the key. She tried to stop my mother from going further into her residence and grabbed her.
That's enough, Joseph. You can stop now.
My mother.
Our mother.
My mother was scared. She dropped her things and called for help. That monster pushed her, and as she fell, that murderer pulled out her gun and shot her. She didn't ask questions. She didn't call for backup. She didn't show grace in. And how do I know all of this? Not from the murderer's lips at the trial. I heard it with my own ears when she called me. I missed that call, and when I checked my phone, I had a long voicemail from Mama. Her struggling to live was the last thing I heard from her.
Eileen was just...
Don't say her name one more time. You want to say a name? Say Janetta. Say that name. Janetta Reynolds. Say your mother's name. Speak her name into this space you call sacred. You won't, though. You don't want to hear the story or her name. How could you hold the hand that held the gun that killed your mother?
I didn't do it lightly. I prayed on it last night, read scripture, and I asked God to lift the pain from my heart. It was so heavy. I asked myself, what would Mama have done if she had survived? If she would forgive her? I believe she would. I believe she would have held her and said, I forgive you. God forgive you if you're truly sorry. Today, I spoke for my mother. I said the words she would have said.
No. Mm-mm. If my mother had found it in her heart to forgive her, she would have done it silently. And if she said anything today, she may have said she hopes she'll change. But she would have said it across the room. No touching, no laying on of hands. That embrace will be reserved for those who truly deserve it. For someone who weeps for you, not herself, who would have had the humanity to treat my mother with the grace that day that you gave her today. Joseph walks to the door. Don't come to Mama's house. Your kind of faith isn't welcome there.
God is everywhere, Joseph.
God is welcome in. You're not.
I only did what I hoped someone would do for me. I would want forgiveness. If I had done something wrong and was truly sorry, that was what was in my heart and thoughts today.
Add to your thoughts the fact that a white murderer gets more love than a black victim in America any day. Ask yourself how many times a black person, guilty or innocent, has been hugged in a courtroom at their sentencing. I can't think of one.
Joseph exits. Ian just holds on to the cross around his neck. End of play. Lights fade.
Hi everyone. If you can turn your microphones on and your camera if you want, so we can give these actual round of applause so they can hear for that amazing performance.
Yes. Bravo. Bravo.
Good job.
Phenomenal.
Good job.
Just absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much to all three of you.
Lori might have slayed that.
Yes, she did, right?
Thank
Thank you so much to David and Donnell and to Lori. You guys are fantastic. Thank you so much for letting us all be a part of that. Just fantastic. So now we have a little bit of a talk back. So you guys can ask any questions or state any comments, anything that's coming to mind. I'm going to lead it. My name is Caren Celine Morris. I am a friend and colleague of Lori's. And yeah, so let's get this started. So our first question prompt, let's say, is what words, feelings, images are with you after seeing this piece? Just feel free to unmute yourself and go. Yeah, Erwin?
Well, the first thing that hit me was the natural dialogue. It did not feel, a lot of times playwrights try to write, and you always get the sense that they're writing. And this did not feel, this sounded like two people talking, which was really, really great. And I felt like I was a fly on the wall, just kind of watching two brothers talk naturally. That was the most impressive thing. And the performances obviously were fantastic.
Agreed. Anyone else? You don't have to raise your hand, just state whatever comes to mind.
Nice.
Oh,
Hey, you don't know me. I was hiding.
Hi there, Anne.
Hey, I think I recognized Valerie just from other playwriting. It was congratulations on the writing, because it was very powerful. It was very powerful. And I'm a white person, obviously, and it's just, interesting hearing from, different perspectives. And this is kind of what we need to have. Do you know what I'm saying? Just to keep things open and just to hear. It was very heartfelt. And the acting was, each of them, both of you were very connected to one another and to the story. So, it pulls at my heartstrings in a different way. And I think you alluded to it in your writing. Well, you're a white person, you could sort of give grace or feel bad because you're not living in your shoes, living in your pain. But I just think that it's important to talk about it now and to just kind of get different perspectives. So I appreciate you bringing it out into the forefront and, in a very powerful way. So thank you.
Thank you.
Felt the connection between them, like you really felt that deep connection, and it was natural dialogue as well, and it was really, really powerful. And you just I love what Miriam said, hugging at your heartstrings, and it's just it's something we need to hear and more of. So thank you.
it was particularly impressive that it felt like you guys were actually in the same room. Over Zoom, that's crazy. Also, seeing your faces now that you're yourselves again, it seems like you're completely different people, which is also super cool.
Thanks for that one.
Ooh, yeah, whoever's speaking, yeah.
First of all, phenomenal work by both of the actors. I am a theater head, and I understand this perspective, but then on the flip side, especially being an African-American woman, a lot of times when I'm looking at shows, we will sugarcoat the issues. We will dance around the issues. And I did respect the fact that you went at it straight on. Because honestly speaking, that's really what it is. It really is hitting it straight on. It was riveting. It was moving. And what I enjoyed most about it was the spiritual aspect from the other brother, because oftentimes, we don't like to, speak from a place of forgiveness. We are supposed to forgive. And for him to be able to forgive, and this was his mother, to me, was a whole different element, to it. You had the other brother that was very strong in his views, but then you had him that was very spiritual. So I did like it from the respect that you didn't dance around the topic. You hit the topic head on. And a lot of times, especially in today's world, you need to hit things head on and not dance around the surface.
I could understand that. Yes.
I'll also say.
Yeah, Donnell.
No, who would?
That was me. I was gonna move on, but you have something to say.
Just I guess from the inside out, right? What it is so real, and I said this to Lori earlier. She makes it easy to fall into that realism, because this is like a moment in time, right? And this is coming directly from a very pivotal moment in society, and for where we are as a society, but then between these two brothers and their family and what just happened, and like what was said about about bringing the faith into it, and it bears the question, what is right and what is wrong when all is forgiven, right? And so I think that's what makes it so real, because it's there's no denying that the two are very much mourning the loss of their mother, but from very different places, from very different perspectives. And so it's almost in just that short amount of time, there is no escaping to anything else. Like, to change the subject would be to cause more, you add fuel to the fire, if you will, and that's exactly what I felt like was happening between Ian and Joseph. Every time he talked about faith, Joseph was like, no, that aside, nobody's saying that you're not a Christian, but why did you have to do it the way that you did it? That became the crux of the argument. But so yeah, I really appreciate that.
For me, amongst number one, I really like the writing and I love the performances. Everything was I'm still kind of like coming down off of it. But for me, I kind of like the escalation. That's what I kind of liked. It was like, oh yeah, we kind of went into it, but just seeing how everything kind of like built up a little bit, just one section after another section, one section after another section, just going back and forth. I just really liked that consistent tug of war that I didn't necessarily have a side where I was kind of like, oh, this character is right and this character. I mean, they're both right in their own ways. And the other thing I kind of wanted to comment on is I kind of like the fact that this kind of goes into what the other young lady said earlier, but I kind of like that we kind of went straight into it. So the part where they were arguing, where she was saying, where we didn't necessarily establish how close the brothers were, I kind of like that ambiguity in the fact where one of them was like saying, no, this is our mother, no, and then the other brother was like, no, my mother. For me, I saw it either as the ambiguity led to maybe one brother was adopted, the other wasn't, type of thing, or just the fact that he was felt so hurt that he disowned his own brother. So I kind of liked that, the fact that we had that ambiguity where you kind of gave the message, which was important, but also left it vague enough so that way the audience can kind of make up their own minds with where the relationship between the two brothers were. So that's just my thing, and awesome job by everybody involved.
Thank
Keith,
you.
I see you have a comment.
Well, first of all, again, actors, you were great. I enjoyed you very much, but of course, with Lori writing, I'm sure it was pretty easy for you because she does. So all you got to do is just get in there and be in there.
Just open your mouth, right?
It works. What I particularly was taken with was the juxtaposition of grace versus anger, and more specifically, performative grace. So, the fact that somebody goes to hug somebody in the courtroom, the performance of grace versus the private grace. The larger society is so much more comfortable with our grace than they are with our anger. And I thought that was a great juxtaposition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I really enjoy. Oh.
No, you good. Keep going, girl.
Okay. I was just gonna say that. Wow! Congratulations, Lori and actors. It was really, really powerful. And I mean, one thing I loved is Lori, how you wrote the brothers as so committed to their particular positions. It was a great articulation of both of those arguments from Christian perspectives, for both of them, but they both had really strong articulations of why they believed what they believed, and not just the scriptural context, but the historical context for why they were so entrenched in their positions. So I really love that. And I think, as someone else also said, I think because they articulated those positions and were so strong in them, it is hard for the audience to just say flat out, you're right, you're wrong, which is, to me, always the sign of a good play. If you're not just telegraphing, this is the right position, this is the wrong position. But I like that you really, because it's supposed to make us think. I mean, it's supposed to make us question and think our assumptions and, what is the right thing to do and why people might do what they do. So I thought that was really great. I definitely also like to see a little development of why have they come to this sort of position in terms of their relationship. But I think in a short play, it is a snapshot in time, so I get that. I think if it was expanded to more like a Raisin, or one of those plays that I think Erwin was referencing, then I could see us seeing it in the context of them, in the house together doing something, blah, blah, blah. You see a lot of action around that, and that conversation builds over 2 hours. But for a short play, I mean, you just get right into it, and I think it works well. So thank you for your writing. Thank you for sharing it.
Thank you.
You're muted, Caren.
Yeah.
I sure am. Thank you.
May
so we're gonna get into the...
May I add one thing? Because I've had my hand up for a minute, and you said not.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Nambi.
No, don't be sorry. It's all good. I just wanted to say, Lori, your play is brilliant. The writing is exquisite. It is so intense, and it just grabbed me. right? And I was in, and my heart, you know how like there's a moment where you're watching a play and your heart just kind of goes, like it breaks? Like that happened. I was like, this is a reading, and my heart was just like, right? And the thing I wanted to say is that what I thought was brilliant is that when someone dies in a family, like there's always this scramble for who owns the memory, right? And who owns who knows what would somebody do if they were still here. And what I loved, it was that moment where, Donnell was like, mom would do this and mom would say that. And D Black was like, no, she wouldn't. She would have done this. And that is so real. When someone dies, like people argue over the memory and of what their actions would have been had they lived. And I was like, damn. I was like, go ahead, Lori. So that's all I wanted to add. Fabulous.
Thank you, baby girl.
Agreed. I'm so glad our cameras were off, because if my face was on, it would have been a distraction. Next prompt. You guys have kind of already touched on this because you guys are professionals, but what were you satisfied by and what did you want more of? Anyone is welcome to start. Or continue, I guess.
What I would really want more of, I think, is I would like it a longer play, because there's so much more meat. You know what I'm like? That was sort of the crux. And then what could happen? Maybe they'd work through some of their issues. And I just think that it's like you got to, the play was the climax. Do you know what I'm saying? And that's great, because it could sort of stand alone. You can make it just a little bit longer, but part of me just, you want more. And how are they navigating their relationship? And just, there's so many other layers, like you're getting to it. And that's, you don't need a lot of like extraneous crap, because sometimes you cut, but it's also just see, maybe they do get along, and they have memories, childhood memories. There's so many different ways you can go. And maybe there's, what happens at the end? Does he really walk out the door? Or do they have some reconciliation? I don't know. I would just say it's really good writing. And what is your last name, Lori?
Minor.
Minor. M-I-N-E-R?
M-I-N-O-R.
M-A-N-O-R. Okay. I don't know how it's written or whatever. I don't know how much you're a playwright, but I don't know. But I would just encourage you, in a way, it's like it was really good, juicy stuff and very obviously of the moment and an important story to be told. For me, I would just want more. That would be my 2 cents.
Thank you.
Okay.
I guess for me, it's like, I guess part of it is like I could like do offline, but I guess the main thing is just figuring out like where exactly kind of going off of what she said, where these brothers are, and is this the straw that broke the camel's back, or is this like the first time that they're struggling with this, or just kind of more information on that. But other than that, I really wouldn't change much. It's just giving more. It's just adding I guess you would say, the appetizers or the side dish to the main course. That's like wonderful. So other than that, just really amazing on everybody.
I think it goes without saying, but just kind of to piggyback on Moses, I think it's beautiful. As is. I think the only thing that I was looking for, and I think that this is just the actor in me and the spoiled play watcher. I just wanted to see, just more of the relationship between the brothers. Backstory. How well did they get along? Did they not get along? Is this the first major dilemma that these two brothers have had, or within this year that this event took place, have they been arguing all along, and then this was the the crescendo, or has there been, just little stuff like that. But I just think that it's a really beautiful piece. And if it is extended, I can't wait to see what happens to Ian and Joseph.
Yeah, I'm with D Black. Like I'd really like to see like how what their split off point was that brought them to have such strong opposing visions of like how they wanted that to play out, and just how much of Donnell's character was like they were saying earlier, like a performative grace, and maybe if there was some level of like society's influence on why he came out with that reaction first, and actually went and actively hugged her, because like me personally, I was all with you. Like, I was like, how could you ever possibly, like, I mean, my husband's Latin, and like I'm terrified of anything ever happening to him, and I know in the bottom of my heart, like, I might forgive that person in private, but there's snowball's chance in hell that I would ever walk up to that person and give him a hug. And I'd be interested to see like how each brother evolved to have those two perspectives and like what the influences were.
Thank you.
Me.
Hey, Lori.
Hey, Terrence.
What's up? Hey, I also felt that they're humanizing the concepts. You know, when folks talking about the backstory, like from where did they evolve out of the humanity of those two people? Because I can imagine in the process of writing, and we have these ideas, then we want to create these characters to inhabit these ideas, and then sometimes the characters can get, and even though, I mean, they get, so how do we knead out the concept, you know, where we're not overstating the concepts, you know, and because they, you know, it occurs around this incident. And like someone else was saying that, but it also talks about like racism and how it pulls us away from the other, but it also pulls us away from each other. Other people's racism against us create circumstances that challenges our connection. It's like, what the F is that about? And this stuff gets complicated and twisted. And I'm hating my brother. And I might be hating my woman to a certain degree because she doesn't agree. And she doesn't want to be conscious in this area. And it just becomes really complicated. And I think you really did a wonderful job of expressing that and showing that, you know. And great work, actors, though. But keep up the good work, Lori.
Appreciate you. May I? I really wanted to piggyback on what was just said. One of the moments that really stood out to me, and I've seen pieces that are kind of similar, where you have one person who's really big on the forgiveness and another person who's just bent on revenge and the warpath. But what happened here was there was a moment where the brother, where Joseph kind of says, well, you did this in this way. And then he starts to talk to Ian about how, I guess, religion, his desire to promote forgiveness has pulled him away so much subconsciously, I would assume, and not intentionally, I would also assume, that he can't even say his mother's name, that Ian can't even say his mother's name. Yet he's brought himself to, I don't know, such an immaculate, forgiving place to where now he's said Eileen's name 2 or 3 times. And it's just like flowing off of his tongue. And it's like, well, you know, you need to respect her name. And it's like, yo, dude, you can't even say our mom's name. And that's a thing. And I don't like the idea of beating people in the head with messages either. But I do love the, I guess it was a slight focus on the socio-psychological effects of, I don't know, maybe too much religion. Or religion outweighing culture, or as was just said, religion pulling you away from culture in such a way where now you've aligned yourself to this religion so much that now culture is kind of like it's kind of on the shelf, and you just kind of pull it out whenever it's, you know, convenient, and you're able to meld it into the religion that you've aligned yourself to. And I just thought that was interesting, and I like to see a little bit more of that, you know, not necessarily being a class where Joseph is like teaching Ian, but it's still a teaching moment. And it'd be kind of cool to just kind of see that, because it's a big thing. It's a big thing where we've aligned ourselves with forgiveness, not only because we feel that it's our duty, but as Ian has just said, it's something that he needs to do. This is something that we as people, as Black people in America, especially in America, have been doing and are still doing, not just because we're obligated to do it, but because of our own psyche and spirits. If we don't forgive, we'll literally go insane, and we'll mess up everything around. Forget about, you know, other neighborhoods. We'll mess up ourselves. and everything around us, because when you sit down and think about everything, it will literally drive you insane. And I would just want to talk about how, I would like to hear more about how the alignment to a religion can intentionally or non-intentionally pull you away from one's alignment or loyalty to their own culture, and specifically in this case, family.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so we can move on to our third prompt, which is general comments or questions for both Lori, the playwright, and our actors. Or any more compliments. I'm sure they can handle it.
Compliments.
My question is regarding the inception of the from inception to the reading tonight. Like, what was that timeline looking like?
So I wrote this back in 2019, and I saw that Keith asked everyone in the room, if they remember about Botham Jean's case. This actually came right after the sentencing, and I watched the sentencing, and I was like, "What? You hung there?" And I was just feeling some kind of way about that. And then, of course, took to Facebook, as I think a lot of us did. And in the comment section of, I think, something that I wrote, you had people that were, feeling the same way. And then this one person, it was a white girl, came on and was like, "Oh, he showed grace. I think that's so wonderful." And going on, and I said, "Grace?" and then and I said something back, and then she came back again, and then someone else said something like akin to what she said, and I said, "Well, I need to get off of Facebook right now because I'm feeling all kind of ways." And so I need to write what I'm feeling, and that became this piece. And I didn't want it to be between a Black person and a white person, because I thought that's easy. That's like the obvious go-to. But and I was telling this to the guys earlier, I said there's a lot of conversations that come out of that moment, and one is conversations that happen within our own community, because yes, there is that kind of detachment from just not being a Black person and being in that experience. But then there's also I feel some people might go, "Oh, well, my friend, so-and-so thought it was okay, so it's okay, right? Like, you think that, everybody thinks that." And I thought, no, everyone doesn't think that. So let's, instead of Black and white, have a conversation between someone in our community who says, let's forgive, and the other person who says, no, at least not in this way. And so
at least not as a performance.
Not as big and out in the open, and in the also the principal, the judge, and everything, the bailiff. Let's not have all of that.
Ooh, I remember that.
Let's not have all of that.
The judge, the bailiff stroking her hair. Lord,
it was a whole thing, and I said, "No, ma'am, no sir, no ma'am, no hand sandwich." So yeah, that was that. And then when, of course, we went into pandemic mode, and I knew I wanted to have some readings online, but then just life in general stopped me from trying to do that. And what brought this story back around again was Homeboy in the Park with the chick who called the cops on him, but he was bird watching, and he was like, "I don't want to press charges." I was like, "Why not?" Sorry for yelling. Yeah, his sister was like, "Yeah, let's do this thing." He's like, "No, she's been through enough." It's like, no. Do you realize? You do realize. It was like the next day, or like very shortly after, like, you saw the results of what could have happened if the cops came. And yet, yeah.
That was a terrible week.
So yeah. So when that happened, I said, okay, we gotta have a reading of this piece. and then something else happened. Oh, and then recently, I've even forgotten the girl's name. What's Botham's killer? Anyway, I don't want to say her name. She recently was like, "Oh, can we overturn this thing?" I'm like, "See, she wasn't sorry. She deserved the hugs."
Yeah.
That's how we got here, Moses. That's why we are here tonight.
Man,
Yeah.
remember all that. What do you mean remember? But that's how it is right now. Any other comments, questions? We all a little bit feeling it, looks like.
I'm curious about the actors. Did you guys rehearse this at all? Because it was seamless. I was dumbfounded by the performances. I mean, you guys, you stepped on each other's lines, yet you allowed for breath. You did the whole thing like as if it was 3 weeks of rehearsal. And I just am curious what you guys did.
All is fair and magical in the world of Zoom.
Yes.
Well, could I use you guys in a play?
Of course.
We will drop their emails in the chats.
Yes.
Listen, these guys are amazing. And I am so happy to call them friends of mine. We had 1 hour, not even, of rehearsal before we joined you guys. And
my God.
Yeah, because they're just dope. They're just so
What
dope.
happens when you stack talent?
Yes.
Oh man.
Stacked talent.
Thank you. No, it was awesome. Loved it. I remember, when did we Lori, when did we read this when did I read this the first time? Was 6 months ago?
Yeah.
About that at the Blackboard plays. It's like it's a showcase for the reading off of plays, different actors. It says it's a writer's lab. I remember I read it that one time, and I was like, when is this going up? When's rehearsal? When are we doing it? And then when you contacted me about this again, my eyes just lit up. I said yes. I'm just say well, we know when it's gonna be here in my house, but where it's gonna be here in my house. But just say when. I love this piece. We need as a country and a culture, we need to have more discussion. We need to have more necessary discussion that pushes things further, not just talking for the sake of talk. Because I think we've done way more than enough of that.
Mm-hmm.
Too much. And it's very much like what Keith said. I mean, you're presented with a script that just kind of it's just telling you what it
things.
All you have to do is just breathe into it, and and have a dope scene partner to play. Like,
your check is in the mail. Thank you.
But it is, because I just read this for the first got the script last week, the week before.
Yeah, sent it to you last week. Yeah.
Very recently. And I was like,
both of you. Yeah.
Wow. And what's crazy is that she then reached back out and she was like, "Oh, I didn't tell you who you were reading. You're reading Ian." And I was like, "Oh." I was like, I just knew, like, because it was so, it was not the guy I would become, or he's not someone I consider myself, I would align with. And that's why I connected so much with him. I was just like, yeah, I'm Ian. So just like fell into it. Just fell into it.
Man, I love it. One of the things that I liked in trying to break down where Joseph is coming from was I wasn't too sure. I'm all about specificity. So I wasn't fully sure if I wanted you to be, if I wanted from Ian, if I wanted you to be loyal to the family. I wasn't sure if I wanted you to be angry for once. Maybe that's our relationship. You're always you're always the peaceful guy, and now you are being peaceful again. So it was so interesting playing that tug of war, but it was also interesting fine tuning what I was rooted in regards to that tug of war, because there's so many different things that we could have had going here. You know, there could have been, you know, deeper issues, and mom's death is just kind of the cover up of those deeper issues. So it was just really it was really fun, for lack of a better term, going through all of that.
Speaking of, when you bring up the mom's death, I love how you hid from us throughout the play, throughout the early part of the play, what was really going on. Maybe I'm naive. I mean, when I heard there was a trial, and I kind of kept saying, I'm not getting the information complete yet. And then at some point later, it revealed itself, which was great for me because it kept me like, what happened here? What happened? And I thought that was brilliant. I love how you kind of just, you threw out the little pieces of teasers, but then didn't fulfill me until a point where I needed to be. And that was fantastic.
Thank you. I definitely, in the very beginning, didn't say outright that it was the mother that had passed.
Yeah.
And that was great.
I mean, yeah.
That got me.
Mm.
Yeah. And of
Any
course,
other comments?
there's all that, you know, there's all that about, you know, black boys and our mommies. So there's, you know, there's that, you know, that doesn't even need, right, that doesn't even need to be said. It's just there. So that's a whole other thing.
I think it's all boys and their mamas.
Generally speaking. So for him to like have that, you know, for Ian to have that level of forgiveness, it's like it's just like it's just a head explosion. You know, it's just, you know, so all of that. Yeah.
Were there any major structural changes in the writing process? We just two characters, you know, I mean, were there any major ones, one or two?
Yeah, it was always just two characters. And even when I went back and did a few edits before I sent it out to the guys last week, like some of the wording changed, but everything was pretty much the same. Yeah. Once it came out of my head, not too much changed structurally about the piece. Yeah.
I think you did a wonderful job in like the nuanced thought, and like he was Donnell. Is it Donnell?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Well, yeah, and just the thought process and like the psychological, like, you know, emotional and theoretical kind of like thoughts that you had, and the way the characters were making those statements and giving us another point of view and a nuanced point of view on it. What seems like just a regular old, you know, messed up, you know, idea. You know, that don't work. That's antiquated. That's like, oh, come on, where's consciousness in all this, you know? And just, because that is a hell of a struggle, though, because we know, you know, my thing is I'm an organism first. I was born an organism in the universe. And it's my society, my culture, and the world that starts to stamp me and define me and starts to shape me. But I think, and you both stated, the actor stated it on the one hand, and the character states it on the other hand, about forgiveness and that need to forgive. Because if I don't, over a lifetime of stuff that I felt that I needed to, you know, reconcile myself with, and like just let go, let it go, you know. But it's like, but then we get into when we're in the struggle. It's like, what does the struggle demand? Can I afford at this point in the revolution to be forgiven? You know, this is not the time to be forgiven. I'm sorry. The brother, you know, and under these circumstances, especially when it hits home, that's some deep, thank you for creating this. But yeah, you know, when is it okay to be forgiving in the midst of the revolution? You know? Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Any last comments, questions? Okay. All right. Thank you guys.
Oh, yeah.
One more comment for the guys. Listen, even though the character work wasn't, you know, developed in terms of us knowing exactly, you know, the background of the characters, kudos to the two of you, because I done created my own backstory for each of the characters just based on the work that you did. So phenomenal. Phenomenal.
Thank you.
So much.
I'm going to give some voice to Whitney's comment she put in the chat. I am having a bit of lag because my connection is poor right now for some reason. I appreciated this short play in the same way that I appreciate the writing of an author that can write short stories versus novels. It is a real art to be able to tell a whole story in a few pages, or in this case, a few minutes, and get so much. Much like the short story author, we were given so much and it left us wanting more, and we got so much. That's from Whitney Campbell.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you, Whitney. Thank you.
Okay. So I think that that's all we have for today. Thank you so much for joining us and for so many of your comments and just for actually participating in this reading and talk back. Thank you so much to our playwright, Lori Sinclair Minor, and to our actors, David N. Roberts and Donnell E. Smith. I'm pretty sure you should look out for those names because you're going to see them again. You're going to hear them again.
Hello. Good night, everybody.
Yeah, thank you all so much.